Hey everyone, Ron Milligan with RE/MAX Select here, and of course I've got the weekly market statistics for you for the full of the Portland metro area. This is both Oregon and Washington sides of the border. The thing that we're paying the most attention to is what looks like a shift in the market. It looks like maybe around 3 or 4 weeks ago the market turned a corner. If you remember, starting back in last March, we had said that the market turned a corner at that point, and we started to see a steady rise, a steady increase in the supply side of the supply and demand equation. The number of active listings kept going up. Ooh, looks like we got some sun coming out. That's nice. So the number of listings was increasing by about, plus or minus, by about 100 listings per week, week after week without fail. And that was pretty steady from March going up until about 4 or 5 weeks ago, where we saw another change. What we had been seeing is a couple of weeks where, 4 out of the last 5 weeks, we'd seen a decrease in the number of active listings instead of that steady rise of 100 listings per week. There were a couple of weeks where the number was real negligible, and it felt more like just kind of holding steady at where we were. Up until last week, when we saw a big decrease in the number of active listings. It was about just shy of 5%. It was 4.9% decrease in the number of active listings. So we're going to be watching that, making sure that that is still the trend that we're going to be seeing going forward, but I suspect that's what we're going to have. At the same time that we had that, we also had our number of pending transactions stay pretty much level with what it was the week before, and that seems to be the trend that we've been seeing in the last few weeks. And then also the number of new pending deals increased a bit. So that was like 5.1% increase in the number of new pendings that we saw during that 7-day period last week. That says that our demand side of the equation is remaining pretty steady, at least, or maybe even a little stronger than it had been, while our supply is steady or waning. And that could be moving us further back into seller's advantage territory as we head towards next spring. I have my thoughts on that. Reach out to me if you're thinking about selling, and we can talk about timing, because timing is paramount. It's one of the 5 things as a seller you have in your control, and we can help advise you with that. The other things that we've been seeing, the average sale price was a little more modest than what you're probably seeing in the press. So we're dealing with smaller numbers here. This is a week-to-week sample that we're doing versus the month-long sample or the year-over-year averages that we see reported through our MLS and our monthly market action. On the Portland side of the equation of the border, right now we're around, last month, we were around 17% year-over-year appreciation. Not appreciation, but year-over-year increase in the average sale price, 2020 versus 2021. So that's the first 9 months of 2020 versus the first 9 months of 2021, 17% increase. If we're looking at our week-to-week numbers, those numbers are usually below 15%. This last week compared to the previous week, or compared to the same week the year before, was around 11.5%. And that's normally what we've been seeing since our high point in May. Very typical though. We usually hit our highest average sale price in May, and then throughout the rest of the year that number wanes. So it's probably going to pull that number down to around 14-15% by the time we hit the end of the year. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 16%, because we're getting close to the end of the year here. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention was just the average sale price versus the original asking price. So we listed our house at one point, we did a price reduction, and what of that original asking price did we end up selling for? That was 100.43%, so a little bit above asking price. And then the median days on market, 6. Last year was 8, and the average days on market this last week was 18. The year before it was 30. As I say every week, all real estate is local. So if you have questions about what's going on in your specific neighborhood or your segment of the market, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to share what we know. We will see you next week.